We are the champions, my friends. And we'll keep on fighting to the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, because we are the champions of the world. All right. You know, they give us a hard time if we play the real music, but that song is just perfect for the moment. Now, we don't stop fighting until the end. This is not over, but if this were baseball, it'd be the World Series, and Donald Trump's team has just won the first two games 30-0, and Joe Biden is the only player on the other team, and it looks really, really bad. I don't know. Last night was awesome. It was awesome. However, if you've been watching this program, not a surprise. No. Corporate media, they're shocked. Democrats, they've been living in denial. They've been living in a world of deception. I don't know, but this is not a surprise. We've been covering Joe Biden honestly, fairly, aggressively, yes, but we don't cover up anything. When we talk about Donald Trump, you know how many segments I've done about Stormy Daniels debunking her stories, but I don't ignore bad stories or unpleasant stories about Trump. I don't. I just dig in and debunk them. Anyway, when did you realize that the debate was over? For me, it was about 9:23, and I put it out on Twitter because at that point it was so obvious that Donald Trump had won. 9:23 p.m. Trump has already won a complete and total victory. It was just so obvious. And then at 10:01, total and complete defeat. He will be replaced soon. And I do believe that. Don't you? Everyone's calling for it. Now, I actually don't want it to happen. I want Joe Biden on that ballot. Democrats, well, a lot of them don't, including the New York Times. Just a few hours ago, the New York Times, an editorial. This is a huge deal. I don't read the New York Times. I'm guessing you might not read the New York Times, but you know who does? Democrats, the Biden administration. They live for their approval. And they just said that Joe Biden must drop out for the good of the country. The greatest public service Mr. Biden can now perform is to announce that he will not continue to run for re-election. Wow. But not too many wows because, folks, again, we've been in this together. A year and a half ago, I said, I knew in my bones there was no way Joe Biden could make it to the election. I just saw what everybody else could see or didn't want to see or were looking away from. But you just had to be honest with yourselves and everybody else. This is, January 20th, 2023, a year and a half ago. You know who else should quit now? The ultimate him. He's not going to be the Democrat nominee, I can tell you that. I know for sure the Democrat nominee will not be Joe. And it is because of this file situation and a whole lot of other things. Yeah, the file situation, the classified documents, and a whole lot of other things. The corruption, he's just so unworthy. And I was waiting for Democrats to figure it out. And he was failing left and right in front of our eyes. Anyway, I think I'm going to be vindicated, don't you? I think I already am. And did you see, Joe? Nobody told him to not look at Donald Trump. I mean, the look on his face was sometimes terror, sometimes confusion, sometimes, well, he also lost without even saying anything. It's incredible. It's just, man, that long in politics, whatever. You know and I know he's flawed, terribly so. And everybody knows at this point, right? You've been seeing the clips all day long. We'll get to those, but first, Donald Trump. Joe Biden didn't just lose spectacularly. Donald Trump won, and it was spectacular. I mean, he was at the top of his game. He was disciplined, he was in control, and he was brilliant. And I heard some new material, and I think I really like these arguments. January 6th, everybody gets upset when we talk about January 6th. Well, how about this for an answer?
What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
Had to be said. Had to be said. And I loved it. All right. Now there's this. Joe Biden didn't fire anybody when he should have fired people. These things needed to be said, and the American people needed to hear it.
This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country.
All right. He's right about not firing anybody. When we lost in Afghanistan, everybody kept their job. The Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense. You remember the coffins coming off, the people running out, the total chaos in Afghanistan, 100,000 Americans left, and you keep the whole national security team in place, the national security advisor. You got to bust it up. He didn't. And that same national security team, a lot of them showed up at Camp David to get Biden ready for the debate, all right? Talk about a disaster crew, right? The demolition team. It's amazing. Some things needed to be said to Joe Biden's face about Ukraine.
As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals.
And you see, Joe, I mean, sometimes his face just conveys, I think I saw shame there. Not only Afghanistan, when Vladimir Putin met with Joe Biden in 2021, he thought, he knew, I can take this Yankee, I can take him. He is weak, he is stupid. I will take Ukraine like I want to. And he did, right? He just sized him up. And that's why this stuff is real. This isn't just some game. Millions of lives hang in the balance, the future of the globe hang in the balance, our country. And he never would have done it, Trump. And the American public understands that. Next, please.
He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question, the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country.
All right. Yeah, I loved it. Now, his reaction, again, I'm going to get to that. But first, I have to say something about the moderators, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. They were excellent in that they were inconspicuous. The questions weren't terribly convoluted. They were straightforward, and they didn't try fact-checking. Fact-checking, it sounds great. It's not. It's dangerous. It is so fraught. You can't have people. This is a political conversation. There's rhetoric. There's sometimes flowery language. There is sometimes exaggeration. It's a bad thing, and I'm so glad they didn't do it. I'm also surprised. I love it. However, other people at CNN seem to be up to some dirty tricks, attempted dirty tricks.
He goes through 6 days of preparation at Camp David.
More than that.
And they know the rules.
It was more than a week.
Okay, so more than a week. They know the rules. He practices with the mics. He knows every one of these questions is coming. And yet he couldn't fill the time.
He knows, how do they know every one of the questions? I mean, I could see every one of the topics, but she said questions. I believe they gave him the questions, right? These are the people who say, oh, if Donald Trump gets reelected, democracy will be destroyed. as the Democrats are actively considering picking a brand new nominee that will be picked by maybe 10 people. 10 people will determine who the Democrat nominee is. So the real culprit here overall, they let down us, they let down the American people. They let down, in a way, the Democrat Party and even Joe Biden. The fake news, they are fake. They're terrible. You know, they never applied sufficient pressure on Joe Biden. You know, when you have pressure, you have to improve. You have to rise to the occasion. They covered up for him. Big tech, corporate America, corporate media. They looked the other way, and they don't have enough respect for the people to tell them the truth. Here's one example, all right? You know it. I know it. We've done this almost every night because there's always something to do, which is to tell the truth about this guy. And here it goes. A little while after the Ukraine war started, he was going to penalize Russian oligarchs, and he made this announcement in the White House. This is what happened.
I'm also sending to Congress a comprehensive package that will enhance our underlying effort to accommodate the Russian oligarchs and make sure we take their ill-begotten gains. We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies. But these are bad guys.
He almost had a stroke. All right, something weird happened. You got to talk about it. You can't sweep it under the rug. But they swept it under the rug. A few hours later, it's time for the NBC Nightly News, right? The signature broadcast that still millions of people tune into. And they deserve to hear about that, don't you think?
The president also announced new sanctions against Russian billionaires today and a plan that would make it easier to seize the assets of oligarchs. Lester.
Kristen Welker, thanks.
Thanks. How about a follow-up? We understand that the president had some sort of a seizure today. No, we're not going to talk about it. They talk about it amongst themselves. They're aghast, but they don't have enough respect for the viewer, for our citizen, for our country to tell us the truth. It is amazing. Quite frankly, it makes Newsmax very, very valuable. And we've got some great people here. I'm very proud of the show. I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of our correspondents. You know James Rosen, our White House correspondent? So it was, I believe, in 2022, James Rosen. The whole country understands that Joe Biden is losing it, yet he's never asked, except the day James was called upon by the President of the United States. Watch this.
Thank you very much for this honor. James Rosen with Newsmax. I'd like to raise a delicate subject, but with utmost respect for your life accomplishments and the high office you hold. A poll released this morning by Politico Morning Consult found 49% of registered voters disagreeing with the statement, Joe Biden is mentally fit. Wow. Not even a majority of Democrats who responded strongly affirmed that statement.
Well, I'll let you all make the judgment whether they're correct.
Well, so the question I have for you, sir, if you'd let me finish, is why do you suppose such large segments of the American electorate have come to harbor such profound concerns about your cognitive fitness? Thank you.
I have no idea. Yes, sir.
You just blew off the question that was on everybody's mind. But only our James Rosen had the temerity and the smarts and the wisdom to ask it. Good for what they did to James. Oh boy, I'll have that when we come back. And also, Joe Biden, in the ultimate disrespect, forgot to mention, or actually forgot to even acknowledge that, yes, service members died on his watch. They did, including these great Marines, soldiers, airmen, sailors in Afghanistan, and he pretended it never happened. The ultimate insult. We'll be right back.